White House correspondent Karen Travers joins me live now, along with ABC News political reporter Brittany Shepard for more on that. Brittany, what legacy is Pelosi leaving behind as the first woman Speaker of the House?
I mean, Diane, you heard it right there from Rachel. Pelosi's team is one of the most powerful negotiators on Capitol Hill, unrelenting, and a word I hear over and over again, enduring. I mean, just think of it. Over 20 years, 2 decades, seen as, a prominent leader of the Democrats. Millions of people who voted just last week really only know her as Democratic leader, and this part makes you feel old. Some of those voters even born after she first took Congress in the end of the 90s. And many of those voters, young and old, looking up to her, something of a feminist icon. And if you remember some of the breakthrough moments from the last administration, it's going to be easy to remember why I first think of a moment between her and Chuck Schumer and Donald Trump in the Oval Office, this contentious argument in front of reporters trying to negotiate away a government shutdown, not so dissimilar for the time we had now. She got in this big argument with Trump in front of reporters, and she said, I want to get this quote right, "Don't characterize the strength that I bring here as a negotiator." And then there's that iconic image of her storming out of the White House onto the lawn with that long orange jacket and those sunglasses. And you also think of this image, you see it right there, of Nancy Pelosi ripping up a Donald Trump State of the Union. Millions of voters look to her as unafraid to stand up for what's important, unrelenting in what she wants, and just really powerful as an inspiration. And you just think of the numbers of women who are in Congress. You heard it hear from her in her speech yesterday. When she first entered Congress, there was something like 20-odd women on both sides. I think it's 23. Now there are 123 Democrats and Republicans. Any way you count it, just an unrelenting, enduring legacy, Diane.
Now, Karen, you talk with radio hosts across America every day. How are they reacting to this announcement?
Yeah, asking questions about what's going to be next for Nancy Pelosi. And of course, she's not going anywhere. She's not retiring from Congress, and she will still be around on Capitol Hill. But Diane, questions about what this means now for the Democratic caucus. Because as you saw in President Biden's statement yesterday, he called her the most consequential Speaker of the House in the nation's history. And he was specifically citing her unique and really incredible ability to corral votes among the Democratic caucus, saying if Nancy Pelosi told you she had the votes to get legislation passed, that meant she had the votes and she would get legislation across the finish line. Those are incredible shoes to fill. And, I think anybody, both sides of the aisle, it's very difficult to be a leader when you have a slim majority. And the question then is, how do you do that and follow somebody like House Speaker Nancy Pelosi? Of course, the Democrats are moving into the minority, and that'll be very different for whoever takes her spot there. But I think just a lot of questions this week about how do you fill the shoes of somebody like Nancy Pelosi. And as us ladies all know, those shoes have been incredibly high stilettos that she has been wearing in very high pressure situations over all these years, well into her 80s.
Well put, Karen. So, Brittany, what comes next as House Democrats and Republicans, for that matter, work out who will lead them?
Well, House Democrats want to figure out who is going to be flying that plane, who's going to be leading them and replacing Nancy Pelosi. I think chief among them is New York Representative Hakeem Jeffries. Just a couple of minutes ago, he announced his formal bid. He's kind of much rumored about replacement for Nancy Pelosi. He already has the endorsement of elder statesman Jim Clyburn, and most probably the 50-odd voting members of the Congressional Black Caucus behind him. There's no other prominent Democrats in the House who have also thrown their hat into the ring. I think I'm going to be really curious to see how some House progressives react to Hakeem Jeffries' announcement. He's a centrist by all accounts, and I'm curious how folks like AOC would see him potentially as a threat to their agenda. As you heard from Karen, it's really, really difficult to get such a large caucus together. Nancy Pelosi is seen as an expert skillsman, perhaps alone in her craft, and being able to make that happen. But beyond leadership announcements, there's a pretty long, lame duck wish list for Democrats in the House and the Senate, including avoiding another government shutdown, raising the debt ceiling. There's lots of Republican pushback to that, getting some DACA legislation, and perhaps most gettable, passing the codification of same-sex marriage.
All right, Karen Travers, Brittany Shepard, thank you both.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.